Hello, PQDF here. I'm going to make another video about Geert Wilders because he just announced his candidates for the elections on the 9th of June. His candidate list is somewhat suspect. He's got some people on there that are not entirely clean. I shall start with the number 5 on his list. I shall note now that the Party for Freedom, the party of Geert Wilders, has 23 seats in the polls at the moment. It's going to be the third party in the Netherlands. In simplistic terms means that the first 23 on the list get voted into the parliament. Now, let's see, the number 5 on the list of Geert Wilders' party is Geert Wilders. He is a Jew, and that's not the problem, of course. A Jew can do and be anything he or she wants to. But this Jew, he has some criticism on the Goldstone report. And the Goldstone report, I'll link it in the underbar, is a report by the United Nations on the war crimes by both sides in the Gaza conflict. And I'm going to read some of it. The United Nations fact-finding mission on the Gaza conflict at the start of the year has found evident that both Israeli forces and Palestinian militants committed serious war crimes and breaches of humanitarian law which may amount to crimes against humanity. There is no question that the firing of rockets and mortars by armed forces from Gaza was deliberate and calculated to cause loss of life and injury to civilians and damage to civilian structures. The mission found that these actions also amounted to serious war crimes and also possibly crimes against humanity. But it also states, the mission finds that the conduct of the Israeli armed forces constitute grave breaches of the Fourth Geneva Convention in respect of willful killings and willfully causing great suffering to protected persons, and as such give rise to individual criminal responsibility, the report's executive summary said. It also finds that the direct targeting and arbitrary killing of Palestinian civilians is a violation of the right to life. And it has more conclusions, but you can read that of your own. But so it denounces both sides of the conflict. Well, Mr. Wilders doesn't think though. He thinks that the Goldstone report is treacherous, to be short. He wants Jews who support that Goldstone report to be excommunicated. Well, I'll say exactly what he says in his own words. He is in a Jewish church council. Well, he has been kicked out of it, I think because of this. But I'll quote him. He wrote this, quote, "In the old Poland, where my roots are, we knew what to do with this kind of despicable little Jews. They were just picked out of the synagogue and kicked out of the village, in the best case. In the worst case, these Jews were left in the cold forests of Eastern Europe and never to be found again." Marcus Sower, that's the person on the list of the Party for Freedom, he calls that, well, it's somewhere too bad that this isn't allowed anymore, but oh well, what isn't allowed in a democratic state, you shouldn't do that. But a cherem, and that's supposed to be a Jewish excommunication, a cherem is, according to him, a legal and effective means. People who are in cherem are not welcome in synagogues, are not to be buried at our burial places or cemeteries, and are not allowed to be greeted. It's a social excommunication. That's what he said, I'll unquote, but that's what he said about Jews who support the Goldstone United Nations report. Next up, Mr. Dion Graus. Dion Graus is on number 11, and remember, 23 seats. In 2002, October of 2002, he physically abused his 8 months pregnant wife in such a manner that she had to be treated in the hospital. The doctors who treated the woman, they described it as a very threatening situation. According to the statement that the now ex-wife of Mr. Graus has made to the police, he has repeatedly tried to strangle her and asphyxiate her, and he pushed against her stomach. Remember, she was 8 months pregnant. And her father, the father of his ex-wife, he threatened to slit his throat and set the house on fire. In total, 6 statements were made to the police of abuse, threatening statements, and stalking. And amongst those statements were his ex-wife, her father, and a female friend of his ex-wife, or it could be a girlfriend of his. It's unclear of the syntax here. And he also stalked a female veterinarian, and he had a affair with her, and she made a statement to the police in Belgium, where she lives, in 2003 due to harassment and stalking. And the reason that he wasn't persecuted for this was because the Belgian justice system has just no time, because they get like 50,000 of these statements a year, and it's just pick and choose. And he also has a dubious working history. That's 2. Number 3, Hero Brinkman. He is number 13th on the list. Mr. Brinkman. In let's see, September of 2009, he was denied further alcohol from a bar in The Hague, and that led to him punching a bartender. After which he denied punching him. He did admit to having a drinking problem, and he said he would work on that. He also has recently had another statement made against him, that he had assaulted and abused a contractor which worked for him on his house. That's 3. The Party for Freedom calls for harsher punishment of criminals and harsher punishment of, as we call it in the Netherlands, little criminal activity, like street robbery or, hey, assault. Hypocrisy much? Also, everybody's whining about free speech being on trial, with Geert Wilders being on trial. Geert Wilders is the defender of free speech, yeah, right. Geert Wilders wants immigrants to sign a contract that they won't denounce homosexuality and that they adhere to the rights of women, so they can't speak out about their beliefs. Like Cassie Dill, for example. Immigrants have to sign a contract, and they wouldn't be allowed to have the opinion that Cassie Dill has. People who are born here, of course, have absolutely all the right to say those things if they are fundamentally Christian, go ahead, spout your worst. And also, of course, the gentleman, Mr. Marcus I mentioned earlier in this video. He wants people who agree with the Goldstone report that was done by the United Nations are socially excommunicated. Freedom of speech? I think not. Don't vote for Geert Wilders.